Hello, everybody. My name is Richard Vigorelli, and this is Vigorelli Institute. I want to talk to you today about a movie that's coming out soon. But before we get into it, I want to give you some background. Okay? Excuse me. Now, the movie that we're talking about is the Civil War movie that is coming out in 2024. Okay? And kind of raised a little bit of eyebrows all over the internet, including my own. Now, normally I do not do any impressions or anything like that about movies because I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, all movies coming out nowadays are garbage. Disney, looking at you. Anyway, this one that I'm going to be getting into, and I'm gesturing at my screen here because I have some stuff put up. Okay, so I'm going to get into it. The reason why I am is because this does influence world building. I am a writer, and I have actually written a few stories that are very similar to this. Oh boy, is there issues. Okay, and we'll get to that. Okay, so the premise of the story is something has happened that has caused several states to say bye and trot off. And they're going to go do their own thing. Okay? Now, here's where we get into an issue already. Okay? The name of the story is Civil War. Okay. I'm going to explain to you what a civil war is. A civil war is an event where people in a country decide that they want something else to happen. And then the other group says, no, we don't. So they get into a fight. Okay? They are fine with the territory as it is. They're not going to leave. They're going to keep the territory. They just don't want the other group there as well. Okay? That's a civil war. A civil war is not, well, we're going to go start our own country. Bye. That's not a civil war. Okay? But Richard, the American Civil War did just that, and that's a civil war because it's called the Civil War. No. No, 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 no. Okay? That is a secessionary rebellion, which is exactly what this movie is also. That's something that Americans do not understand. All throughout history. Okay? A civil war is defined. A civil war is A civil war is defined as one group of people wanting to do something or have a different leader than what is there and then maintain the borders. It's a disagreement on philosophy, on religion, on leadership. Okay? All of that stuff. It is not, we're going to go start our own country. That's a rebellion. Okay? Excuse me for 1 second. Now, with this story, we are going to be having some issues here. I guarantee it, and I'm also willing to bet that the world building is going to be about as involved as the documentaries that came on the Discovery Channel, say, early to mid-noughts. Yeah, you know the ones I'm talking about. Seriously. It's why I quit watching network. Alright. So, let's get into this, shall we? Let me show you the map. Boop. Alright. So here we have the map. You can go ahead and read through this. Powerful Country. Civil War is an upcoming 2024 movie written and directed by Alex Garland. The film is said to be an epic dystopian war movie set in a near future within former USA. USA has fallen into civil war. No, it hasn't. following various secession movements and has split into numerous smaller states/republics. The map here is based on the map of USA within the A24 Civil War trailer. We used our own map design, but the names and borders are still the same as the initial source. This map obviously received large degrees of criticism due to many discrepancies, and the director showcasing that they may have little to no legitimate knowledge on American politics and geography. You think? This should not be taken seriously, etc. Okay, I don't know, can you? Yes, you can. Okay, so you got the Loyalist states here, because these make sense. Then California and Texas are buddies. Then you've got the Coastal Alliance, which is Florida and the South, hanging out with the Intermountain states. Because, you know, Idaho over here and Oregon are such buddies, okay? I mean, they've been through thick and thin together, you know? And also, you know, Tennessee, super good terms with Utah. Okay, and by the way, you know, Florida, just so cool with Washington. I mean, if these were people, they would be out having coffee every stinking day. You know, they'd be naming their kids after each other. Are you freaking kidding me? Okay, this is ridiculous. This map is idiotic. Okay, California and Texas could not be more different, okay? And it doesn't just go with Democrat versus Republican, neither, okay? The food that they eat, the way they go about their everyday lives, the cultures are totally different. There is no way these two would ever be associated. Unless we are in a completely different timeline, and certain things that happened in either of these states did not happen in this timeline, in which case then we're moving into some kind of BS alternate history thing, and now I've gone bored. Okay? This is ridiculous. Okay? These states right here, this is Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, and Missouri. They don't like New York. Okay? New York and Jersey cannot stand each other, even though they're exactly the same. Okay? Their differences are academic, and they will even admit to it, but they are nothing alike as far as they are concerned. Okay? None of these states would be friends. The Carolinas have much more in common with Georgia than they ever would with Pennsylvania. Okay? Now, yes, I'm getting into a North and South thing here, okay? Those cultures are still fairly prevalent. Yes, they've homogenized a little bit because of movement and migration and all of that. The United States has become a lot more cohesive, but not as cohesive as you think it is, okay? The states right here, this is Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. I would actually expect these guys to hang out. They do have their rivalries, but they also have a lot in common. Okay? I would expect this block right here, which is Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire, I always get them mixed up, to kind of hang out. And I'm willing to bet Maine will probably go along, because where the hell else is it going to go? Or it'll join with Canada. Okay? Upstate New York, by the way, may go Canadian. They may just say, all right, we're leaving. Bye. Canada, protect us. Okay? Lots of stuff would happen here, and it wouldn't be this. The guy that came up with this is an idiot. Okay? He knows absolutely nothing about how American politics works. He knows nothing about the interplay between the states. Okay? Oklahoma definitely doesn't like Texas very much. They actually have quite a bit in common with this northern little bit of Texas here. But they share a lot more cultural stuff with Kansas. Okay? Now, Utah and Idaho are actually friends. Okay? Nevada has a lot more in common politically with California than it does with Arizona. Okay? And this bit right here has nothing in common with Oregon and Washington. Okay? It's ridiculous. All right. But enough of that. Let's pop over here, shall we? Okay. So here is a blank map of the United States. Okay? I grew up here. Okay? I live right around here. Bit of a drive. Took me 3 days. Now, I'm going to go through this and let's see. Control Z. Okay. Let's pop this up some. 30. A bit big. But we'll get to there. Okay. This map, by the way, is called paint.net. I absolutely adore it. Wonderful. And 25 is way too big. So drop down. Let's do 50. Okay. So, let's talk about this here, shall we? Now, I'm going to select blue. 1, blue is my favorite color, and 2, I'm going to be using blue shades to denote more liberal zones, and I'm going to be using red shades to denote more red zones. Purple is going to be relatively neutral. Okay, so here we go. Now, you would think that this would be the case. That all of these guys think exactly the same. And for the most part, you'd be kind of right. Okay? Maybe. Okay? I'm not going to do it full on. Okay? So, this is in a lot of ways what many people, especially out here in the plains, think of the coast. They're only partially correct. Okay? So, we'll go to the teal here. Okay? Now, up here, this is Sacramento, San Francisco, outlying areas. Okay? Very liberal. Okay? Whereas LA, which is right about here, and San Diego, which is right about here, also very liberal. These do not get along, okay? And as you travel down the coast, I know because I've lived here, you start seeing a lot of this, okay? You get up into here, okay? That's a little bit more politically representative of this area, okay? Baby blue, a little bit more gray blue. Now, as we move up into here, you start seeing things a little bit more like this, okay? A little bit of a different lifestyle, okay? And it kind of moves into the coast here. You're not going to see a lot of difference, but as you travel inland, this starts to act a lot more like this. But you start getting red splotches too, for example. Okay, in fact, this entire area, okay, for the most part, is very, very similar. Okay, and I'm just going to outline it. Okay. It's kind of what I would imagine that bit to be. This will be kind of a border zone. Okay. I know this because I lived here. Okay. Semi-conservative. Oh, by the way, there's a little pocket of it right here. That's Orange County. Orange County, surprisingly conservative. Okay. Now, when you get into Nevada, start to see this. Okay, but you got a lot of it all the way through here. Okay, you'll get pockets, throughout these areas. By the way, Austin's right there. Okay, and here's Nashville. Okay, now the interesting thing is you get into New York. Okay, Massachusetts, this lot. Okay, for the most part, fairly similar. Okay, Baltimore. Okay, all of this. Okay, you've got areas like that, except for one teeny tiny little thing. It's different. There we go. A little bit more like this. Okay, it's kind of like that. Okay, because they're southern, but they're also northern. Okay? So what you see is things shifting around. Okay? You get up here, this area, kind of a mix. That's why this is a swing state. Same thing here. Okay? A lot of ways it leans liberal, but not always, okay? Meanwhile, huge swaths of the South, like this, okay? Until you get in the major cities, like, say, Atlanta. See, it's a lot more complicated than what people think it is. Okay? There's going to be entire swaths of the country that are going to be fairly conservative. Okay? Others, surprisingly liberal, like where I grew up. Okay? Yet have conservative backings. Okay? So what we're going to see is a bunch of areas. Okay? Most of these are going to be fairly rural, by the way. We'll go with this one. Okay? That's Chicago. Okay? Going back to the map, Chicago's loyalists. They actually have a lot more in common over here in a lot of the ways they behave. Okay? I don't know what happened with this, but it's ridiculous. Okay? This mess, this hodgepodge, is a lot more probable. Okay? By the way, I hate to tell you, not everybody in New York is a violent liberal, like the ones here in the city. Some of them are actually fairly conservative, especially when you get up here. You'll get teeny, tiny pockets. Say Rochester, for instance. At least I think that's where Rochester is. I'm not sure. Okay. You'll get entire areas like here, and then here. Okay? You'll get semi-liberal, okay, zones like that. And then hard conservative zones like this. Okay? Yeah, I know it looks like a mess because it is a mess. Okay? By the way, not everybody thinks the exact same way just because they quote-unquote vote the same way. That would be ridiculous. Okay? People are not their politics. Okay? Their political identity doesn't mean much. Okay? Especially if you're talking a libertarian zone, like, say, right here. Okay? By the way, yeah. A lot of people don't know. But Tennessee was the last state to join the Confederacy during the American Civil War, which again, Southern Revolt. Okay? When the secessions happened, South Carolina went first, and then everybody else in the South joined in. Okay? Tennessee originally voted Union. Okay? I believe it was Nashville that went Confederate. Okay, they voted Confederate, and then Memphis and surrounding areas, and Knoxville and surrounding areas, even down in Chattanooga, said, no, man, we want to stay Union. Okay, so the call went out from Washington, which is over here, and there's a reason why it's not a state. It said, hey, by the way, we're going to need soldiers, lots of them. Okay, well, called for a vote again, and guess what? Memphis, I believe it was, transferred over to Confederacy. Okay? People in Knoxville, I think, came out and said, who stacked the ballot? Okay? And Tennessee seceded from the Union. But there were several people, there were at least half the state that was pro-Union. Okay? By the way, Kentucky was a Union state. Okay? And significant portions of the population went Confederate. There was actually a regiment that was here right where I live, here in Murfreesboro. They were called the Orphans of Kentucky. Okay, they fought for the Confederacy, and I believe they were killed to the last man here at the Battle of Murfreesboro. Okay, so what he doesn't understand, the person that wrote this, what they don't understand is that there are entire swaths of the country that would never, ever unify for any reason, okay, other than it helps them to survive because Utah produces raw metals. Okay. They send it over here to Pennsylvania to get turned into stuff. Well, why can't Utah do that? Because it's easier to get the labor here in Pennsylvania. Okay, so it gets shipped all the way over there, turned into something, and then shipped all the way back. Okay, does that make sense? Wonderful. Now, what would happen in a civil war, and I'm going to go ahead and bring myself back on here. There we go. What would actually happen in a civil war situation in modern U.S. is it would divide probably along ideological lines, okay? And there would be subdivisions within that. So let's say a certain person gets elected as president, okay? One group of people is really going to support that, another group really isn't, okay? Well, the group that really doesn't might be quasi-unified, okay? What will happen is they'll start forming protest groups and all of that, and start rallying people to their cause, okay? Well, there's going to be dissident groups in the loyalist faction to the guy that's elected president, okay? And they wanted another one in there, so what they decide to do is they decide to attack and try to get rid of him. Meanwhile, also fending off the full opposition group, okay, even though they have the exact same goal, get rid of the dude in charge, it's who they want to replace him, okay? So that's what's called the tripartite. That's what's called the tripartite civil war, okay? Which are actually pretty rare. Then you're going to get sub-factions within that, yes, we all agree that we don't like this guy being in power, but each of us wants another guy. Okay? So we're going to duke it out until we can either come to a consensus or there's nobody else left to be whiny. Okay? Say that. Okay? So what would happen in this situation is it would be utter chaos. Okay? There would be no semblance of an economy, okay, other than barter and raiding. Okay? With a complete and total breakdown of central power anywhere. Depending on where you are, within a little while, some strong man is going to rise up in that area and unify the inhabitants. Okay? Happened before. So that's called a warlord. Okay? He'll probably call himself a king or a prince or a president or what have you. Okay? And the people that will follow him either like him because they like him, or they're there because he's the only option. Okay? And they're just kind of waiting for somebody else to come along, which they may or may not. Okay? Then, as certain resources start to come in and so forth, and they're able to grow and expand, they'll start making alliances and unifying with other groups, either diplomatically or militarily, or by conquest, and then you start getting new countries springing up out of the balkanization. Now, here's the interesting bit. The way that is shown, that map that I showed you before, that is assuming that the entire territory of that state is going to go along. It isn't, okay? There are going to be entire sections of states that are going to remain loyalist. There are going to be entire sections that are not. Now, depending on which one has how much of what, will depend on how many trenches, so to speak, we have to dig. Okay? Their major cities are going to be the worst places to be in, because most people that live in major cities, like, say, Chicago, definitely New York, Los Angeles, Austin, Dallas, okay, most of Florida, and so forth, they don't farm. Okay? They have no livestock. They do not have any independent access to water, especially in the desert cities. And everything that they have gets shipped in, okay, in exchange for whatever it is they export, which could simply be money. Okay? What will happen is this thing will be useless. Okay, this is guaranteed by the United States federal government. Okay, this is legal tender. It's a $20 bill. Okay. Old Hickory, Jackson. Actually, I really like him. Anyhow. Okay. That will become useless because the federal government doesn't exist unless you believe it exists. Okay. In fact, that money is called fiat money, and it is guaranteed based on faith. It's not backed by anything other than we like it. Which, by the way, all money is guaranteed because we like it. Okay? So what will happen is, because that government no longer exists, that money becomes completely useless, because why do I care about it anymore? Okay? So what it will do, what the economy will reduce to, is precious metals, shiny rocks, and stuff that I need. Okay? That is called a loose barter and mercantile system. Okay? A capitalist economy, until a strong government is asserted, will not be able to function. It's not possible. There's not enough intangible resources to make it worth my time to do anything. Not only that, I'm worried about some dude on a horse showing up and taking my stuff. Okay? Now, some of you may like this. I don't. Socialist economies may also spring up, but those really only function on micro. On a macro basis, they always fall apart. Okay? So in certain areas, you will see socialism gain traction. Other areas, you will see a form of capitalism as the politics stabilize, called authoritarian capitalism, which is, why, yes, you can have your own business as long as we say you can. Yeah, go ahead and do whatever you want as long as we say you can. Well, I'm sorry, we already got plenty of those. Yeah, authoritarian capitalism is just a really soft version of socialism. I hate to tell you, Poopy. Okay, true capitalism is totally different. All right? Now, if a balkanization event were to happen in the United States, it will be much like the Roman Empire. Okay? After a few years of fighting, okay, it would be a massive propaganda campaign by whatever central power decides to retake in order to convince people to come back into the fold. They're not going to do it. Okay? And we'll get separate countries springing up, just like what happened in Europe after the fall of the Romans. Okay? After 200 to 300 years, American English will change, okay? Because these groups of people are not going to talk anymore, okay? Eventually, they will pick words and ways of using those words that will not make sense to the person over the border, okay? So you will get languages springing up out of American English. They'll sound kind of sort of the same. They'll have the same basic rules, but some words will get cut up, others will get replaced. Okay? You might see a common religion-ish, or religions, but eventually there's going to be different philosophies. Okay? The whole reason Catholicism exists is because of the romanticization of the Roman Empire, okay? And its already present ubiquity at the collapse, and the fact that it was also a state religion, because back then state religions were a thing, okay? The United States does not have a state religion. A lot of people say, yes, we do, it's Christianity. No, it's the most common religion, okay? There's dozens in this country, okay? Not only that, Christianity is far from cohesive, okay? You've got Catholicism, Lutheranism, Anglicanism, Episcopalianism, Mormonism, the weird people that play with snakes, etc., okay? So, assuming that certain groups within those areas gain absolute control, some of those religions may cease to exist within that enclave. Okay? Others will spread. And then others will get invented because somebody else comes up with a new idea. Okay? They may not even stem from the exact same thing. It could just be somebody wakes up and says, you know what, I got me an idea. And they start a brand new religion based on whatever it is. Okay? And that could gain traction. Okay? So you're going to be seeing a bunch of little countries springing up at the end of this. And what we now call the United States will start to look like Europe circa, I don't know, 500 AD, CE, if you will. Okay? Maybe even, Central Africa, right now. Okay, you'll have a few 800-pound gorillas. Texas might be able to maintain cohesion. California definitely won't. Okay, because Northern California and Southern California do not like each other one iota. Okay, there's probably enough cohesion on the Cascadian coast to create a country out of that. But then you also have to worry about where they're getting their food from, because all the farms are inland and the farmers don't like the people on the coast. Okay? So what will probably happen is major coastal cities, especially on the west coast, are going to starve. Same thing on the east coast. Okay? Unless they are able to secure absolute loyalty and power over the inland farms. Okay? There's going to be a massive population reduction in a balkanization event as well, which that could get awkward, to say the least. Okay? Honestly, I will be giving this Civil War movie a miss because the person that wrote it doesn't understand how things work and doesn't understand how people work. Doubt he's ever been in a fight in his life. And I also highly doubt that he has ever taken anything resembling a civics class, let alone anything regarding politics or history or anything regarding human nature. I'm willing to bet that he thinks that when somebody laughs at him, they're making fun of him. So there. All right. That's enough. About all I've got for you today, okay? So, you guys take care. Like, share, subscribe. Links in the description for my websites. Follow me on Twitter. I'll be back later, guys. You take care.